Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did.
But now it's Shannon Sharpe who's in the spotlight for his own accusations of abuse. Because on Monday morning, Texas attorney Tony Buzbee announced on his Instagram that he'd filed a $50 million lawsuit in Nevada court against Sharpe.
They say no one is untouchable, and right now, one of the most recognizable faces in sports commentary is facing a legal and personal firestorm. Shannon Sharpe, NFL Hall of Famer turned media heavyweight, has been hit with a $50 million lawsuit. The accusations? Rape, emotional abuse, and manipulation by an ex-girlfriend nearly 3 decades his junior. The internet is buzzing. The legal teams are gearing up, and this controversy is unraveling faster than anyone expected. In this deep dive, we're unpacking the lawsuit, the responses, the history, and how this could impact more than just one man's career. Let's break it down. It all started with a civil lawsuit filed in Nevada on April 21st. A woman, listed as Jane Doe, came forward with explosive allegations against Shannon Sharpe. According to her, the two were in a relationship that began in 2023 when she was just 20 years old. Shannon was 56. That detail alone sparked a frenzy online. People questioned the age gap, the power dynamics, and how something that started as a romantic relationship could allegedly turn so dark. The lawsuit details multiple instances of and emotional abuse. Doe accuses Sharpe of controlling her through manipulation and threats, claiming he used his fame and wealth as leverage. In one incident, she says he threatened to kill her, and to support these claims, her team released an audio recording that left many speechless. In the clip, a man, believed to be Shannon, is heard saying, I'll kill you in front of everyone." The audio, while short, hit hard. It raised eyebrows and questions, but also sparked immediate pushback.
Shannon Sharpe firing back at an ex who says she was by the Hall of Fame tight end several times at the end of last year and the beginning of 2025. In the 13-page complaint obtained by ET, she also claims he threatened to kill her, beat her up, and recorded their sexual encounters without her consent. The alleged victim admits to being more than 30 years younger than the 56-year-old star and says she met him at an LA gym in 2023 when she was just 20. She filed under the pseudonym Jane Doe, but in this scathing denial, Sharpe's legal team calls her out by name. We won't repeat it, but they're dubbing the suit a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. And they released a series of explicit text messages that they say prove this was a consensual adult relationship that included role-playing, sexual language, and fantasy scenarios. She's seeking $50 million. Sharpe's lawyers say he's looking forward to fighting the allegations in court.
I hate to seem like a petty individual for picking apart lies.
Are you not afraid about being blackballed again?
This comes just days after reports that the Club Shay Shay host may be negotiating a substantial deal for his media empire, expected to exceed $100 million.
You really are the best. You've proven it here today.
Sharpe didn't stay silent for long. Within hours, he took to Instagram, denying the allegations and calling the lawsuit a shakedown. He claimed the clip being circulated was cherry-picked from a much longer video, one that, according to him, paints a very different picture. His attorney, Lanny Davis, a high-profile name in legal and political circles, came out swinging. Davis said the relationship between Sharpe and the accuser was entirely consensual and involved role-playing scenarios. He insisted the violent language in the audio was part of that role-play and not meant to be taken literally. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Sharpe reportedly offered a $10 million settlement before the lawsuit was filed, not as an admission of guilt, his team says, but as an effort to keep the matter private. That offer was rejected. Now, Sharpe is gearing up to countersue, targeting both the woman and her attorney, Tony Buzbee, for defamation. This back and forth is becoming more than a legal battle. It's a fight for public opinion, and both sides are arming themselves with receipts. The legal teams are locked in. Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Buzbee, the The same lawyer who represented women accusing Deshaun Watson is bringing years of high-profile litigation experience to the case. He claims the audio evidence and emotional testimony are just the beginning. But Sharpe's team is pushing back with their own proof. They've released text messages allegedly from the woman, describing their interactions as consensual and even referencing role-play scenarios. These texts, they argue, prove the nature of the relationship was misunderstood, not criminal. Still, context is everything. Is this a case of consent gone too far? Or did fear and pressure force someone into compliance under the guise of a relationship? This is where things get murky, and where public perception often splits. There's the legal definition of consent, and then there's the emotional reality of being in a relationship with someone powerful, older, and famous. Was it mutual? Or was it manipulation disguised as romance? If this case goes to trial, and it looks like it might, we could be in for a very public, very uncomfortable unraveling of private moments, and it won't be easy for either side. For those following Sharpe's career, this isn't the first time his name has been linked to disturbing accusations. In 2010, Michelle Bundy accused him of harassment, threats, and stalking. She was granted a temporary restraining order, which was eventually dismissed.
Says that this whole thing is being orchestrated by Tony Buzbee.
Tony Buzbee targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media.
And he goes on to say that the encounter in question took place during the day at the invitation of Jane Doe, says that this was all a deliberate setup by her. He also, by the way, revealed her first name, and apparently her name that she purportedly uses on OnlyFans. We're not going to reveal those names here. We're not going to do that. But he does go on to say, quote, "My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about, and I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do." And we also got a statement from his attorney, Lonnie J. Davis, and that reads, "Mr. Sharpe categorically denies all allegations of coercion or misconduct, especially the gross lie of rape, and will not submit to what he sees as an egregious attempt at blackmail. He stands firmly by the truth and is prepared to fight these false claims vigorously in court." And Davis has also commented about that apparent tape that was seemingly referenced by Sharpe, because he accuses Jane Doe of providing a, quote, secretly recorded and heavily edited video to them that purports to be a non-consensual encounter of some kind. But Davis claimed that Jane Doe, quote, has refused to provide a copy of the full unedited version of the recording to Mr. Sharpe's legal team. And then there's this. Sharpe and his legal team released all of these apparent text messages between him and this Jane Doe, reportedly 44 pages worth of communications. For example, as reported by TMZ, there's one apparent message from October 2023 where Jane Doe seemingly messages Sharpe, "I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're bleeping me." Now, the New York Post reporting on other messages allegedly from Jane Doe, like, "Tie me up and do bad things to me. I know you miss this big juicy bleep, 25K for each cheek. Tie me up like this and bleep me," with Sharpe replying, "If I knew how to, I would." She then allegedly wrote back, "It's okay, I have handcuffs. We can stick to those for now." Jane Doe also allegedly writing, "I want like some hardcore BDSM action though, and feeling kind of freaky lately." And then you have this apparent message from March 14th, 2024. "I want to be abused, Daddy." And then another message from last year where she apparently wrote him, "I've always wanted a black baby." Now, Lonnie Davis commented that, quote, "The evidence paints a clear picture. This was a consensual adult relationship that included role-playing, sexual language, and fantasy scenarios." So what happens then? Again, this is not the end of the story. Jane Doe ends up releasing an audio tape seemingly between her and Sharpe. And I'm going to explain part of what is heard on this tape. We can't play it for legal reasons, but here is part of the exchange, and this part is key. Again, this is from the audio tape. Jane Doe says, "Don't manipulate me." Sharpe replies, "If you say that word one more time, I'm going to choke the bleep out of you next time I see you." Jane Doe pauses, takes a minute, and says, "Well, I don't want to be choked." And Sharpe replies, "Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter." Now, to be clear,
at the time, the story barely made a ripple. Sharpe returned to his role on television, and the incident faded into the background. But now, More than a decade later, people are revisiting that case and asking, was it a warning sign, or an unrelated event? In today's era, past allegations don't just disappear, they become context. They raise questions about patterns, about character, and about whether we've ignored red flags in favor of talent and charisma. With everything happening now, that 2010 case is back under the microscope, and it could play a role in how this new lawsuit is perceived. Beyond Shannon Sharpe, this case hits on something deeper, the power imbalance that often exists in celebrity relationships. Jane Doe was 20, young, impressionable, and stepping into a world she likely had no blueprint for. Shannon was decades older, a millionaire, a celebrity, and a media authority. It begs the question, can someone in her position truly consent without pressure? This isn't just about Sharpe. It's a pattern we've seen over and over again, from musicians to athletes to actors. The conversation has shifted from what's legal to what's ethical. Public tolerance is changing. Where some once saw scandal, others now see systemic imbalance. Whether that shift leads to accountability or controversy depends on what happens next. Right now, Sharpe is still on air. ESPN hasn't made any public moves. No suspension. No internal investigation was announced. But all of that could change quickly. We've seen media figures pulled from their shows for far less, some based on accusations alone, others following internal leaks. If more evidence surfaces, or if the public backlash grows, it's entirely possible Sharpe could be sidelined, even if only temporarily. And then there's the question of legacy. If this lawsuit leads to a trial, with depositions, evidence, and testimonies laid bare, it could redefine how Sharpe is remembered. Not as the quick-witted analyst or the guy who traded jabs with Skip Bayless, but as the center of one of sports media's biggest legal storms. This isn't just a celebrity scandal. It's a cultural flashpoint, a collision of fame, power, sex, and the courtroom, and it's only getting started. The question now is, where do you stand? Is this a desperate grab for money and fame, or the brave stand of a woman finally telling her truth? Do you think ESPN should step in now, or should they wait until the courts weigh in? Should past accusations play a role in how we judge the present? Join the conversation, share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more deep dives, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update on this evolving story. This case is far from over, and as always, there's more to the story than what makes headlines.